Hello, viewers. Today, I would like to continue my discussion regarding Diane Yap. Now, as I've said previously in another video, going through Diane Yap's X page is like going through a cesspool, but once one gets used to it, it is something I suppose one could call bearable, because one started to realize that Diane Yap is simply an outright racist, in sooth. So anyhow, we have this particular post of hers, done September 14th, 2024. Dear Mexican Mafia, thank you for your service. So this has to do with this particular story, January 20th, 2013. This is not a news story. As you can see, this is January 20th, 2013. She is covering an old story simply for the satisfaction of enjoying the fact that there are Mexican criminals who do come against the foundational Black American community and really any person of the Black social status in the United States on a fundamental level in an effort to basically antagonize us, commit hate crimes against us, and drive us out from our communities. We have here Mexican mafia leader sentenced for trying to ethnically cleanse blacks from California City. When he pleaded guilty, the elder Rios admitted that the gang had the goal of cleansing Azusa of blacks. He also admitted that in order to drive blacks out of the city, he and other members of the gang threatened, intimidated, and attacked blacks at their homes, on the streets, at convenience stores, and elsewhere because of their race. Now, some people have tried to legitimize Diane Yap. Some people have tried to say that Diane Yap is a person who cares about her community, and that for whatever reason, she is not a bigot. She is not a prejudicial person. She hath no biases in favor of those of the white social status or her own. In other words, people say that she is not a racist. So she is saying, thank ye, Mexican Mafia, for your service. So you can see it plainly. This is an old story that she is enjoying. She is enjoying reading this news article because this to her is quite satisfying. Because in the idea, in this, in her understanding, these are allies. These are allies because they are against her enemy, and her enemy is any person of the black social status. Now, in my last video and in the video previous to that, I had talked about how Diane Yap and an ex-user were celebrating the deaths of 5 people of the black social status who were immigrants from Africa. She and another ex-user were saying, ha ha ha, I suppose they did not have a fire alarm, or something of that sort. And Diane Yap was saying that this joke that the ex-user had made was comedy gold. Now, I am specifically going to be mentioning a particular podcast. I forget the name, but I am going to be using the mention system in this YouTube video to tag them. Especially one particular man who happened to host that particular podcast of the black social status, who interviewed Diane Yap and was very, how should I say, coy. And I suppose I should also tag another particular person who is of the black social status who actually, I'm not particularly sure that he was. I did not watch the other person's whole interview, but I'm going to be tagging this person so he can know exactly, how pitiful his interviews seem to many of us. Because many of us have been looking at Diane Yap's X and Twitter page for a very long time, and we know how racist she is. We know that she openly celebrates, basically the destruction, the deaths of people of the black social status, and that she treateth people of the black social status as enemies. There were several people who were interviewing her, and they were all pathetic. Every single one of them are pathetic. And I'm saying this to you because I do not like to gossip. The particular YouTube channel I'm talking to, yes, all of you are cowards. Every single one of you is a coward. I'm challenging every single one of you, and I'm telling you that you are all cowards. Every single one of you are. And when people were in your comment section telling you that you had went easy on this woman, that you did not ask her pertinent questions, not one of you went into that comment forum and responded to any of us. All right? But there are people who are doing deflection for outright bigots. And for those of us who know this woman's history, we have no illusions regarding her views. We know her views. We are used to her views. Her views do not surprise those of us who know her. So we have Jim Jackso. He saith, siding with criminals yet complaining that you hate blacks because they're criminals exposes a deeper insecurity in her. And it doth. This woman was saying that an Asian person who had lost their phone and burnt down a house full of a whole family of African immigrants was somehow a vigilante, even though he burnt down a house that did not have his phone. He still burnt that house down, and he did not find his phone. And so you have to wonder, what type of person is Diane Yap really? Diane Yap is a hypocrite. So we have here, there are of course conservatives here who are basically promoting, their conservative politics and what have thee. But nonetheless, that is not exactly what we're talking about. So, she is talking about an ally. So this person, ODI, saith, what makes you think they are not coming for you next? They want their California back. In other words, the United States took Mexico from California in a war. That was a war. They fought the war. May the best man win, so to speak, and the United States took it. Now, I do not approve of that, but I also do not approve of Mexican or Latino gang members attacking people of the black social status. If you know anything about people of the black social status and how they are treated in Latin America, they are treated as second-class citizens. But this is how Diane Yap and many other people would like it. They are tawny, either Latino or Asian individuals, and they think that, if anything, they should be considered white themselves. And everyone should be white, and the people of the black social status, the dark folk, the tawny folk, and even the pale folk of the black social status, though in a Latino sense, pale and tawny people would not be considered black. They would be considered to be blanco if their hair is not of a negroid Afro texture. This is how ridiculous some of these racial classification systems are. In Brazil, you have at least 3 racial classification systems to determine who is black, but it is not necessarily racial in a very strict sense. It really is a matter of social status based upon complexion, hair texture, and many other even skull facial qualities, but for the most part, hair texture and complexion. Though we're going to look at some information regarding when Asian people tried to gain a legal white social status here in this country, and they failed. Anyhow, as she is saying, we're cool, look at the FBI violent crime stats. Latinos account for the smallest share of violence against Asians. So, in other words, she is saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. She is saying, well, if these Latinos are attacking people of the black social status, they are our allies. Even though she is an immigrant to this country, and if it were not for the black civil rights movement, her and many other immigrants would not have the rights that they do. The very white supremacists who come to their comment forums and their Twitter pages and their social pages, their social media, would be against them. They would say, you people are second class, do not come to our restaurants, do not mix with our women. We have to preserve the goodness of white womanhood. There would be the same KKK and separate but equal Jim Crow laws if black people did not fight it, along with other individuals who had any type of moral conscience. But this showeth her mindset. But we are going to look at more things. We are not going to stay in this comment section for too very long. But I was just looking at a few of them. So one person saith, you really don't do yourself any service when you post things like this. Those Mexican mafia types are criminal scum just like the black people and any other race that violently attack Asians. At least be consistent with your messaging. All race-based violence is wrong. So she is saying, in an ideal world, this woman is quite, you can read her arguments. She is an individual who will justify her hypocrisy. But we are not going to stay in this comment section. The main point here is to highlight who she's supportive, what she's supportive. What I am doing is giving you the information in a very concise fashion so that you can see it. Of course, this video may not be concise because this video may be peradventure maybe an hour long, peradventure longer. But nonetheless, we can see that anyone who attacketh black people is her ally. We saw in the last video, or at least the video before the last that I did about her, how she mocked an African family that was burnt to death by the actions of an Asian teenager and his friends. All right? So, if a person is attacking a person of the black social status, that is her ally. The podcast that I'm going to tag, the channel that I'm talking to, directly to, all of you cowards over there, and all of the people who happen to attend your channel, this is the woman you had on your channel, and you were all giddy. All of you men who are middle-aged men, you were so giddy to have this little racist Asian woman on your channel. And I am going to tag your channel right in this video so everyone knoweth who you are. Peradventure, they can leave you some comments to express their dissatisfaction or what they think of you. Because you deserve to be embarrassed. And whether this video gaineth much traction or not, you are going to be embarrassed in some fashion. I'm going to do this, in a sense, to highlight your reputation. To highlight what it is that you, as a channel, accept, the type of people who you tolerate. I'm going to show everyone that it is so simple to find how racist of a woman Diane Yap is. But anyhow, viewers, that is fine, that is well and good. Those of us of the black social status, we are used to racism, or at least many of us who have been around long enough. And many of us, well, let me put it this way, those of us who have a certain degree of, let me see, I go here to my research folder. Here we go. Those of us who have a certain degree of knowledge about Latinos, or at least, Latino culture, we know about the idea of mejorar la raza. In other words, the Latino idea of, how should it be said, improve the breed. This is a Latino concept of basically breeding out any dark ancestry in your family. This is an old Spanish and Portuguese idea of blanqueamiento, that is to say, making your family blancas and blancos, that is to say, breed light skin. If you can find an Anglo, breed with him. If you can find anyone of lighter skin like a German or whoever, breed with them, so that you can cleanse your blood of the darkness of the African descent that every man came from. Dark skin and hair like wool, just like the Ancient of Days in the book of Daniel. Hair like the pure wool that these people hate with all of their hearts. And they shall know when they take their last breath, they shall know if that statement about the Ancient of Days, that is to say God, is true. Does he really have hair like pure wool, like a black person, like an African, like a Niger? Does he really have it? Many of these people who are white supremacists and even Latino pale supremacists, many of them would tell you they are Christian. Is this so? Well, when people take their last breaths and they see the form of God, the very form by which Adam was made in the image of, well, we will know how the first man looked, in what image he was in, what his hair looketh like, what his skin looketh like. And if evolution is right, he must surely be a black person. But anyhow, let us continue. Let the Negro fight his own battles. His problems are not mine. I don't want to ally with him. This is from Felix Tejurina, a Mexican-American president of the LULAC. I have no idea what the LULAC stands for. It is some Latin American group, apparently. Latin Americans of Mexican descent don't belong to the Caucasian race and are therefore white. John J. Herrera. There was an understanding that Latino people, because they had Spanish and in some cases in regard to Brazilians, Portuguese ancestry, if they were light enough, they were white, of the white social status. What do we have here? I know Negroes aren't getting their full share of democracy, but frankly, I'm prejudiced against Negroes, and I do not believe they are entitled to everything that we get. This is Gus Garcia, Mexican-American civil rights attorney. Whereas we had the black civil rights movement, in which they were basically going against white supremacy, trying to have a system of fairness, justice, and equality. And during that time, we had Mexican-American civil rights attorneys, and they were working for themselves and no one else. They did not care about how white supremacy was geared against people of the black social status. People like this man, Gus Garcia, and who know of how many others, the people up here, and many others as well in all likelihood, were against people of the black social status and openly saying it. They are our enemies. These Latino people were saying these people of the black social status are our enemies. And if you do not believe that this type of thinking is still in vogue now, I have to tell you, you are quite wrong. If you do not understand the Latino idea of mestizo, the idea that, well, if we are mestizo, or if we are blanca or blanco, we are better than negro. We are better than negrito from the Philippines. All of these cultures have different types and different groups of black people that they discriminate against. Even if we go to the Philippines, even if we go to Thailand, we have negritos in Thailand, the Manu tribe. We have, I believe it is called the Mani tribe. We have the Eta tribe in the Philippines. We have such a huge slave population over there in South and Central America because they imported the most slaves. The United States only received 4% of African slaves. Where did all of these black people come from? Did they come from the Accomack tribe? Did they come from the Louisiana Chata tribe? The Chata tribe, which spread throughout the East Coast. Did they come from the Shinnecock tribe up there in New York, where many of the members still look like black Americans today? Only 4% came here to the United States. But yes, there is a history of Latinos, so to speak, and many other groups of people who are traditionally against those of the black social status. And this is obvious. So when you have the Mexican-American mafia, when you have the Mexican mafia leader who is trying to ethnically cleanse blacks from California City, this is obvious to many of us of the black social status. When I hear these people who are Hebrew Israelites, when I hear these people who are part of their little bigoted cult that believe Jesus and the angels are going to come off the UFOs, and that somehow UFOs are the chariots of God and the aliens are on your side, if you listen to these cults, they are leading you down a road to ruin. They claim that they are working for black people. Yes, I'm now talking about all those Hebrew Israelite groups and all of you people who want to support them. You really think that they are helping you. The Quakers helped you more than those Hebrew Israelite groups. The old black churches during the Civil Rights Movement helped you more than those Hebrew Israelite groups. They now want to tell you that your ancestors and that people who had more sense than they did, because they fought for you, they fought for your people, are fools. They want to tell you that their racist, bigoted ideology that they are promoting is somehow good. And many of these people will say, well, the Latinos are Hebrews, and you are a Jew. Even though, if you look at the statistics of slave imports, most of those people from the Igbo tribe who are known to have, Jewish ancestry in West Africa, most of them would be going to Brazil. Places like Colombia. If what some of these Hebrew Israelites say is true, then most of those black Jews are going to be in South America. We only have 4% of the African slave population here in the United States. Most of it is in Latin America, and they are treated like second-class citizens. So the very same Portuguese, Spanish mixed Latinos who have been discriminating against your people here in the United States and in South America, many of you Hebrew Israelites want to say, oh, the blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, the black Americans, Latinos, and Native Americans are the Jews. And then you want to discriminate against African people. You want to discriminate against Ethiopian people and say, oh, well, there's no Ethiopian Jews. It's so stupid. It's so ridiculous. There's a whole culture and history called Mahawar La Raza, about improve the breed, where Latinos practice a literal whitening of their generations. To them, to these people who hold that particular ideology, those particular individuals, they believe people of the black social status are their enemies. They believe that Negroes are their enemies. So I just spent a little bit of time talking about that cult, those particular cults, those particular bigoted Hebrew Israelite groups that want to say that basically only certain groups of people are part of the church and everyone else is condemned to slavery. And that Jesus is going to be coming off of a UFO. Some of you do not know what I'm talking about. Peradventure, some of you have seen some of these Hebrew Israelite groups on the street. Quite ridiculous. Oh goodness, how did that happen? Okay, anyhow, let me talk about the next thing. This is a very impromptu video. I really did not plan it. Okay, now you may wonder, how can Diane Yap even really try to make points like this? What is she even thinking? Maybe some of you are thinking that. Well, that page does not exist? Interesting. How? Okay. I know why. I think. Was it because I put an extra 4? I know I had this this particular page. Oh, that's something else. Okay. I have to put a space between these two links because I sort of save my links and go to them rather than using a favorite system. Here we go. This should bring me to where I want to go. So anyhow, this was a person of the black social status, and they decided to just basically cause some chaos in the restaurant. Anyhow, Diane Yap saith something quite curious. She saith, is this why we used to have whites-only restaurants? Is this why we used to only have whites-only restaurants? And people said, who is the we? Who is the we? So, you know, basically, Art Candy saith, you're not even white, which is true. She is not white. And she will make an excuse to say, if I don't have to be white to understand why you wouldn't want to see this kind of behavior anywhere. And why? This is the same woman who's supportive of the Mexican mafia attacking and killing black people. This is the same woman who doeth that. Dost thou understand? This is the same hypocrite who supports of black people being driven out of their communities by gang members. This is an overt, outright, racist bigot. Alright? Now she really thinketh that she is white, and she really thinketh that she hath a point. Well, people caught her regarding her hypocrisy. And she had this avatar that someone had posted of her with horns. She had it up on her profile because I suppose at the time she took it and she thought, well, if I'm the devil, I might as well, basically just take the image and be proud of it. Someone put of this as a post here. And this will show us how immigrants had it before black people had basically fought and struggled against civil rights with whoever was sensible enough to fight against it. Do you really think black people behaved that way when we literally would get lynched for less? You would be in the same boat, dummy, and it is true. The only reason white supremacists tolerate these Asian pale supremacists is because they need alliances, since there is no longer a racial and social Jim Crow separate but equal hegemony where they can outright dominate all of the other racial groups. So many white supremacists love to have, people of other races who will support them in this in their goal of preserving a European hegemony. In other words, saying, hey, the white European is the best here. We have the best, we are the most intelligent. We have the best history. We have the best culture. All of these types of claims that you may hear from many people who will promote what it is to be of the white social status in every fashion. So what does this say? It says Japs keep moving. This is a white man's neighborhood. This is how it was before the civil rights movement. Before people were basically able, by their struggles, leading to the changing of laws and integration. This was how it used to be for an Asian person. This woman wanteth to say, oh, this is why we used to have whites-only restaurants. As though she is white. As though she is of the white social status. But she is not of the white social status. Viewers. So we have here, of course that is a Reddit post where they basically mention what that woman had posted regarding the Japanese restaurant. And she is Taiwanese, but even so, the point applieth in sooth. Let me see if my microphone is working for 1 second. You will not be able to see the screen while I look for that. Okay, it is working. I can see that it is working. Alright then. So you saw that. And now I think it is time to talk about the white social status and the Asians who struggled to try to have the white social status. Excuse me. So talking about Japanese, there were Japanese people who wanted to be considered of the white social status. In this case, we have Takao Ozawa, was a Japanese American who had lived in the United States for 20 years. He attempted to argue that whiteness was a matter of skin color because his skin was just as pale as white Americans. He should be treated as white and granted citizenship. The Supreme Court unanimously denied him, saying explicitly that whiteness only extended to the Caucasian race. If you know anything about the Caucasian race, it has to do with the racist system that classified all human people into, Congoid, Mongoloid, and Caucasoid. Alright? Now, I replaced the Negroid word with the more acceptable word Congoid, but that was also a term that could be used. But basically, the idea had to do with skull shape. The idea had to do with if your nose was too broad, if your nose was not pointed enough, if your lips were not thin enough, these were considered to be Negroid features. And so the idea is that although the Asian skin is pale, their noses and their features are essentially not European Caucasoid. If you know anything about a nation, you know that nation is synonymous with the term race. Nation and race are synonymous, but even regarding nation, the social classification, I really do not need to look up the synonymous history of race and nation and really show that to ye, because in sooth, it doth not matter. Because if you think about the history of white, that term can even be nullified by even having one drop of black blood. This was a type of legislation in the South. It was called the one drop rule. So many Asian people have fought throughout history to be recognized as white people. Alright? Many of them have. Okay. So let me see if I have any more information about this Japanese individual. Many people who come to the United States, instead of struggling like people of the black social status, they will say, well, my skin is pale. I am like one of you. I am not a black person. Do not treat me like one of those subhuman people. all of these individuals who are immigrants here have supported, in large part, the American system. A long time ago, African immigrants could not come here, so we had a bunch of tawny and pale immigrants. Tawny immigrants from Asia, pale immigrants from Asia. Tawny and pale people from Latin America coming to the United States, and all of these groups had one thing in common. Many of them would say, well, we should be treated and have the same rights as you white people because we are pale and we are tawny enough, light-skinned enough to be treated like we're human beings. We're not 3/4 of a man like the Negroes, as it saith in the Constitution. For the purpose of representation, they would count a slave as 3/4 of a man. All right? For the House of Representatives, I believe. So this is our history. Those of you who do not know that the immigrants who have come to this country have had a history of being diametrically opposed to us who are of the black social status in regard to their very presence here, because instead of fighting, instead of saying we are against white supremacy, they were afraid that they would be sent back to their homelands and they would not be able to stay here. So instead of fighting, these cowards decided, hey, we want to be white. Not all of them. Particular individuals would bring this to court. Particular individuals would say that they were white. Particular people. And this was a big matter because people brought this to court. They wanted to be considered white. So when you see Miss Diane Yap basically performing in the same way many of our ancestors did who fled their countries to come here and stay here permanently. This is why we have whites-only restaurants. Because she considers herself white, but according to the law, legally she is not white. She is not white in a legal sense here in the United States. This was decided by the Supreme Court. What she is saying is wrong legally. She is not a white person in a legal sense. There was a Japanese person who said, look at me. Here he is. He said, I have pale skin. My hair is not nappy hair. My hair is not like the Nigers. My hair is not like the Negroes. Look at me. I am not an African. I am not one of those primitive people. I am a civilized person just like you. I am of the superior blood, of the superior race. I am an honorary Aryan in the World War II Nazi sense of the word. But they said, no, you are not a Caucasian. You are not white. You cannot be one of us who lord over the other races that we conquered. The Supreme Court decided no. They are not white. Diane Yap legally is not white and she cannot be considered white. This was decided a long, long time ago. Not really that long ago, but long ago enough that we can say it was decided a long time ago. That ship hath sailed. All right? This was decided. She is not legally white. No Asian person is legally white. They are not. Because according to the law, they are not Caucasians. They are not European pale folk. You may be an Asian pale folk or you may be an Asian tawny folk, but that doth not matter. You still do not have the white legal social status. You do not. You can say, oh, we used to have whites only restaurants, and the truth is, if she had went to those whites only restaurants, they would have rejected her too, just like they told the Japanese people to keep on moving. They would have told Diane Yap to keep on moving. Many of you white supremacists who love to come into my comment forums, my video forums, and you love to argue in favor of Diane Yap, and you love the way it used to be, and whites in this country, You love the good old days. You want them back, just like she saith. This is what you would have accepted. You would join your fellow white supremacists and you would tell that woman that she is not white. Because none of these people thought that she was white. None of these people thought that she was white. When they have signs telling Japanese people you are not allowed, Asian people are not allowed, they did not favor them. Okay, they did not like these people. They did not. But anyhow, let us go to the next subject here in this video. So we know about this Japanese man. He wanted to become a person of the white social status. He was not allowed. The Supreme Court would not allow this pale man, or what you may call tawny man, because I've not seen too many Japanese people who are that pale. I've seen many tawny ones. There are some pale ones, but many of them, I would say, none of them are as pale as British folk. None of them are as pale as German folk, who are in basically Europeans. Okay, pale Europeans. Japanese people tan a great deal better than Europeans tan. Europeans get sunburn. I do not know of any Japanese person that get a sunburn. I do not know of any of them that get sunburn. So my own understanding that is this: if you get sunburn, then you're pale. If you are not getting sunburn, your skin is somewhat tawny. Okay, you are not so pale that you are getting sunburn. And most European pale folk get sunburn. Most European pale folk of the white social status who are Caucasoid get sunburn. Diane Yap is not getting sunburn. All right, she is not. So, that was an attempt, that some of these Asians have tried to make to be classified the white social status. All right, so this is still open. This is good. Because if I close it, then it is hard for me to get it back. Anyhow, if you did not know, this is from Indian, from the Indian culture here. When the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Indians aren't legally white, this happened too. So we had a man called Bhagat Singh, however this name is pronounced, wasn't challenging the racial discrimination of his era's immigration laws. Rather, he was trying to expand the commonly understood definition of white to include people like himself, a high caste person born in Punjab. And you have to realize, when immigrants were trying to do this, their goal was simple. When they got that white social status, they were going to discriminate against you just like their fellow white people of European descent. Even though they are not white, they may be Indian Aryan, they may be of the Brahmin caste, but no, they are not considered to be white in a European sense. They may be considered white in an Indian sense, but they are not white in a European sense. They are not. But many immigrants who were tawny, who were pale enough, they wanted to be considered white. They did not want to be so-called, in a status that was lesser than white. They did not want to have their rights discriminated against like the people of the black social status. Those of us of the black social status need to review our history and recognize that for the most part, we, even today, have very few allies. There may be sensible people, and I know there are, who understand this history. They are ashamed of it. To them, this is disgraceful. Some people can appreciate the black civil rights movement and what it means for all immigrants. But there are many people, they just think that black people are a stumbling block and and an obstacle to them. They think of us just like their ancestors thought of us. In other words, if they can be classified as white, or if they can be in a higher position than blacks, they can join with the white people of the white social status to discriminate against us. For Diane Yap, a black person is an enemy. This is what they are to her. Alright? I really do not know if the sound has been on the entire time. If so, this video may be ruined. But if it hath not been, then I am in a good position. Anyhow, because I know that Twitter does not always play the sound. Anyhow, let me continue. What else did I want to look at? I wanted to look at the fact that our civil rights movement, the civil rights movement of the people of the black social status really helped, immigrants who came here. No, this is a different one. This is about the disgraceful Japanese man who decided he wanted to join that disgraceful social status known as the white social status. So a person like that is nothing less than a coward. And we are going to see even more why people who did that were cowards. And once again, just as I have shown you, it is good to keep in mind that Latinos actually, that the leaders of, Latinos in this country in high political positions have said this. Open discrimination against people of the black social status. But anyhow, let me continue, because sometimes I feel like I really have to sort of review these things so that people can understand our history and relations with immigrant groups of the United States. Now let us compare the people who come here and try to become white with the people who struggle against the system of white supremacy. How the civil rights movement opened the door to immigrants of color, so to speak. But what type of color? In sooth. There are black people, there are white people, there are tawny folk from all over the world and pale folk from all over the world, but nonetheless there is only one black and white. Some people will say there's black, there's brown, and there's white. But in the end, everyone else wanteth to be part of that white social status to gain the benefits and rights of being white. How many people want to be black? So there's no middle ground in any idea of being of a white social status. That has not been the traditional, that really has no tradition in this country. But basically, if you know about the history of immigration, you know that, and of course someone's talking about the Muslim ban here, but basically you can find so many news articles talking about how the civil rights movement was beneficial to immigration as a whole. Okay? This is common sense. With Jim Crow, separate but equal laws, what you had was a country in which Asians were easily discriminated against. And this is a good example of it. Every Asian person owes something to the civil rights movement. Even Latino people owe something to the civil rights movement. This was what used to happen. This was the type of discrimination that tawny folk from Asia and tawny folk from Latin America had to deal with. They had to deal with this. They had to deal with it. It was black civil rights that changed this reality. You will not hear that from bigots like Diane Yap. You definitely will not hear that from white supremacists. Oh goodness. I cut it on again. They keep cutting the sound back on, but I accidentally clicked it. But anyhow, we're just reviewing a little bit of information. So, she was talking about crimes against Asian folk. And as you can see, she hath a new little avatar here, picture. She still is a very unpleasant looking woman. And unpleasant in personality and looks. But anyhow, let me take a look here. This has to do with comments. Let me see. Which comments was I looking for? Because one of these videos I had, I know which video it is. Excuse me, I often put very useful things in my comment section that I come back to. Let me take a look. Here we go. So there was another person who was telling me that basically, you know, the people who are attacking Asian people are mostly people of the black social status. But basically I brought up at least three stories of people of the white social status attacking Asian people. We have New York man arrested, charged with assault and aggravated harassment in alleged New Year's Eve anti-Asian attack. So this man is called Christopher McCormick, a New York man who's been arrested and charged with felony assault and aggravated assault after allegedly attacking a woman and then making an anti-Asian remark toward her on New Year's Eve. Okay, we have a pale man of the white social status. Let's take a look at this. We have stabbing of student of Asian descent was motivated by race, suspect allegedly said. Now another U.S. community is pushing back on anti-Asian Pacific Island hate. What color is this woman? She seemeth like a beige woman. She seemeth like a pale woman. Her eyebrows are drawn on. She looks like we have one of these red women again. So the suspect in the unprovoked attack allegedly said she was motivated by race when she repeatedly stabbed a victim, a student of Asian descent at Indiana University last week on a city bus, according to court documents and a student group. Moreover, as one can see, this woman is smiling during her mugshot. She was very proud and happy about what she did. She did not like that Asian person, and she, you know, apparently, what did she say? She said she was motivated by race. Oh my! It seemeth as though it is not just, you know, people of the black social status attacking, and they are openly saying they are attacking people of Asian descent about race. A homeless man, you know, let me see. Who is this person? Suspect accused of 7 separate attacks on Asian woman in one day across Manhattan. Okay, that's some realtor thing. As we can see, this man doth not look like a black person. You know, he is not tawny. He is not dark. He is a pale man of the white social status. Okay, a homeless man who allegedly battered several Asian women around Manhattan Sunday was what? Was held on bail Friday, officials said. Stephen Zajonk, 28, is accused of violently attacking his victims over a 2-hour span, starting near Madison Avenue and East 30th Street, where he clobbered a 57-year-old woman. He allegedly continued assaulting 6 other women in the area, cops said. So, peradventure my eyes are failing me, and I cannot see the dark skin on this man, the tawny skin on this man of the black social status. Maybe he is just an albino black man or something. Are my eyes deceiving me? Because according to Diane, the enemy of our enemy is our friend, right? The Mexicans and the people of the white social status who The particular ones of them who are racist happen to be her friends, right? Those people who commit crimes are her friends, right? It is just black people who are abusing and attacking Asian people. But the Mexican mafia is on her side because they are attacking black people. It seemeth to me that Diane Yap is just simply a bigot and a racist, and she doth not like black people. It seemeth to me that Diane Yap is just an anti-black racist. That is what she is. She is not concerned about the truth. She is not concerned about telling the truth. She is just a bigot. Certain people who commit crimes she will ignore. She doth not care about them. The only people she wanteth to talk about are people of the black social status. So those of us who are sensible enough, we know not to trust her opinions on these matters, because Diane Yap is an anti-black, bigoted racist who thinketh that she is white. This is a woman who thinketh that she is white, even though racial identity in the United States was decided a long time ago, and she is not legally white. By ruling of the Supreme Court, she is not white. She can say that this is why, she can say, oh, we used to have white restaurants. Well, she is not white, so she would not have to worry about attending any of those white restaurants during Jim Crow's separate but equal laws and systems. So she would not be allowed to partake of them. She would not be allowed to partake of the privilege of having a white social status, because she doth not have a white social status. That matter hath already been decided. She is not a Caucasian. Back in those days, you only received those rights if you are Caucasian. So this peradventure has been a good video. We will have to see if the sound came out well. But anyhow, viewers, may you be blessed and farewell.